This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Welcome back to Party Loaded. It is Wednesday, the 25th of May. Sitting here, recording with the crew as per usual. My name's Luke Retallick, joined by Ollie.
Hello.
We're joined by Jam.
Hello.
We're joined by Imogen.
Hello.
Hang on, somebody else here. We're also joined by a very special guest tonight. We have joining us all the way from our own city of Perth, Western Australia.
So far away.
That's right. You had to travel a whole long way to get on Skype to chat to us tonight. We've got Garth Pendergrast from Stirfire Studios. How you doing, Garth?
Hi, how you going?
We are good. We're good. So,
Welcome.
I think we all had a universal sort of decision that we were sick of listening to each other speak exclusively, and we wanted to inject a guest into the mix tonight. So we've
sick of Luke talking about Hearthstone. Really.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
That's fair.
Or
I was
Stellaris,
sick
one
of
of the two.
listening to talk about Hearthstone.
Damn it!
Yes,
It's universal.
we've recruited more.
We have bona fide listener
One
feedback
of
now. I guess I
us.
have to actually stop. No, that's never going to happen. No, but no, it's a really good opportunity for us to, I don't know, mix things up a bit and chat about some industry sort of specific topics. Thought we'd kick in with that tonight and have a good old chat before we start ranting on about the great time we've been having with the Overwatch launch this week. So.
Don't forget the Doom.
Yes, that's right. We do have some current gaming to chat about. Oh, how's everyone been this week? Been a nice chilled week. It hasn't seemed like there's been a whole lot on. We've been spending a fair bit of time online over the last couple of days, but that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing
We
too
were
exciting.
waiting for Overwatch, and then it suddenly happened.
That's right. But Imogen, you qualified for a MBA or something, didn't you?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
No, just the first third of it. I found out Tuesday that I passed my grad cert. For the
Nice.
first part of my MBA. Woo! First
Congratulations.
post-grad qualification.
Very
High
good.
five.
Post-grad high five.
Yeah.
And on the topic of things awards related, Garth, I believe that you were attending some sort of awards this week as well. So
I wasn't attending an award so much as a judging panel for an award. So Stirfire was a finalist for the Waiter Insight ICT Business Awards.
nice.
And
Ooh.
I went and presented in front of the judging panel last Thursday, and that was all sorts of fun.
Sweet.
Cool.
Wow.
So if you need experience of what it's like to walk into the Shark Tank or the Dragon's Den, I'm your guy.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, with a whole lot less reality TV and a whole lot more actual reality.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of reality that's set in that day.
yeah. Sweet. Well, I guess, I mean, that's as good a segue as any to sort of get stuck into the main discussion tonight with regards to yourself and everything Stirfire. So now the purpose of bringing Garth on tonight is to really to chat about what life is like as a director of an indie games company. So quite a journey that you've been on the last few years, which we can dig into and get a bit of an insight as to sort of what goes on there and hear some interesting stories. But to kick everything off, I think we should probably set the scene by just getting you to do a bit of an intro and tell us, who you are and what your background as a gamer is and that sort of thing, and what sort of brought you to the path that you've been on with Stirfire. So take it away, Matt.
All right, well, Stirfire came about in about 2010. We've been a perpetual startup for that whole duration. Basically what happened in the mid to late 90s, a large international games company called IndyZone came and set up a studio in Perth. They were given substantial tax breaks by the then state government at the time, and that all went well right up until Global Financial Crisis version 1.0, where the US owners of the company quite famously went bankrupt, lost all their backings, and of course the studio basically fragmented. I was my partner, the person I spent my life with, was working for them at the time, and I got to sit and watch as this tech BDM guy watching a studio fall apart and watching a bunch of people get dispirited and people move away. Everyone sort of fragmented into different little studios and that sort of thing. And I'm sitting there watching this whole thing going, no one actually here really knows how to sell things. They know how to make awesome stuff, but selling is a different skill. It's a different skills base. And so then Stirfire was born. It was originally intended to be more of an incubator and a mini publisher to take other people's ideas and then polish them up and make them consumer ready. That slowly morphed in time to becoming more of a traditional game studio. But we've always worked from the premise with Stirfire that we were going to make commercial games. That doesn't mean to say that we make games that we compromise on our art or anything, but there were going to be products where we knew we'd have a market and we'd be able to sell them. We've had a fairly interesting ride like that. We had some wins along the way. Our first game that we really set any marks with, Freedomfall, that won us the first ever West Australian Scran Award for Best Video Game.
Yep. Which is a sweet game, I'll just add. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's one of those ones that people come up and talk to me whenever I'm out and about, and they might have seen my face on a few different things because we did a lot of PR work surrounding that game, and we got out there probably quite significantly for a West Australian studio. We actually went and hired a PR agent, got our faces around. We did a lot of YouTubers, and we did a lot of traditional games media with that one as well. Got on to Good Game, and of course that gained us a bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that we did quite differently than everyone else. That was my last $5,000, by the way, that did that. That was
Wow.
that was $5,000 well spent. Out of that, that's really where we got noticed, and all of a sudden we started getting these interesting phone calls. So you get this phone call from, "Hi, I'm from tech giant XYZ," and initially I was like, "Yeah, right, sure you are." And then no. I've just sent you an email. Check my domain. I'm from there. Oh, okay, sure. And then we opened those conversations. And that got us into Microsoft, into Sony, into Amazon, into those sorts of places as well.
Wow.
So we're now in a position where we're certified by those three vendors. So we're working currently on the next round of games because we worked on some commercial games in a sense that we made games for other people. After Freedomfall, we were quite burnt out and we needed to keep the studio afloat financially. So we worked on a bunch of contract titles. We did some business applications at the time. We've been messing around a lot with virtual reality and we've done some industrial stuff with that, using that to hone our skills as well. And now we are working on another platformer, which will break your brain when you get to see that. That's currently working title Debug. We're working on a VR game called Symphony of the Machine, which we presented at a Perth Games Festival, and we take to Play Out Perth, which are our local sort of testbed events. We take that one to regularly, and we have got another title in pre-production right now, which is a completely different departure than anything we've done before. So we're still working on traditional titles. We're working on VR titles. Probably, if any major direction has also been changed, we no longer actively seek out mobile titles.
Nice. Okay, so Keith, that was a big sort of cornerstone with a lot of the skill set that you were working with your team previously, wasn't it? Because I know that's your business partner Brennan's background. Is that right? Doing mobile development.
He initially started. He worked for SpinFast. He worked for InDesign as well for a duration. SpinFast was a company that specialised in sports tiles on mobile. Mobile's a very difficult place to make money anymore. Not to say that you can't do it. In fact, some friends of mine have successfully done it spectacularly well. I'm a friend with a couple of the guys that work for Mighty Games Group, and they've had immense success with their game, Shooty Skies. It's just a really hard place to get into if you don't have the setup and your whole structure is based around that. At Stirfire, we typically aim for something that's more sort of story oriented. So we just found that mobile wasn't really a platform that worked for us particularly well. We did it because we had to. It was a good entry point.
Yeah.
But because the other thing too is Freedomfall, we think, we always put that caveat on it, but we're pretty sure it's the first West Australian game to ever get on the Steam platform. Back when it was actually hard to get on the Steam platform. So it's now, they've changed the rules. It's quite different now. It's actually a lot easier to get on, but we believe we were the first on Steam. So
nice. And you did sort of go through the green light program at the time and so forth, didn't you? Yeah.
Greenlight was an interesting process at the time because it was basically we were stuck in Greenlight for 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Gosh.
As you can imagine, I mean, PAX was when we went on to Greenlight with Steam. We got out via the then Desura platform onto Windows and Mac anyway. And then we, of course, that we're using that as a tool to get us through on Greenlight, but that was a really hard task. I think the biggest thing at the time was there was no real, you couldn't sort of point to an endpoint in it. You couldn't say, well, if I get, X thousand upvotes, then I'm in. That didn't really exist. There's a few NDAs. I'm not going to go too far into details there, but that was the challenge at the time. And then we did get through, and I think when we saw the email fly through, I think I saw it at about 6:45 on a Tuesday morning, and I spent the rest of the day doing a real happy dance around the place.
Nice. Yeah, I think you may have said something to me at the time as well, because I'm sure we ran into each other in the city, and you were looking very happy, like a major milestone had been achieved.
I'm pretty sure I was running around the city with my shirt over my head. I just do that.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think about some of the people in WA that have actually gone on to get involved in the industry as a whole, and you're a classic example where anyone who we've known sort of outside of that environment for years and years, and if I was to pick the people who would have actually gone on to make a career of it. I've been constantly surprised by some of the people who have just gone in completely different directions to what I would have expected. So, I mean, did you ever consider that you may at some point in the future be a games developer? Way back during your teens and your early adulthood, or was it literally just an accident waiting to happen? Do you look back on it now and think it was destined, or I don't know? What's your perspective, sort of a few years in now?
I can remember sitting as a 5-year-old making what I thought was a really cool card game at a time, drawing scribbles on a piece of paper. And I thought, so, I mean, that's a pretty early indication. There was another moment where, you know how those, you get, this used to happen, and I'm going to show my age here. When I was in junior school in the early 90s with a spectacular haircut at the time. They did these fantasy job interviews, and I actually interviewed as a games reviewer, like working for a games review mag, and I was told soundly at the because I always bought them. I used to, I had my consoles at the time, and I used to spend my pocket money on. I couldn't afford the games, so I used to buy the mags, and Christmas and birthdays would rock up when you'd actually get the games. And the guy told me at the end of it, said, "This is a really fanciful thing that you're doing. Like, you're never going to get a job actually reviewing games." And
amazing.
He's right. I haven't got a job reviewing games. I'm making them, but no reviews. So
wow.
I think it was something that was always going to happen in a way. I did in my late teens. I went to university. Didn't go the normal games developer route, which is basically you go to uni and you study game design. That's usually a pretty good indication.
Sounds like step one.
Yeah, step one. Yeah, no, didn't do that. Didn't do comp sci or computer science. Didn't do anything to do with art. Did a lot of business stuff. Did IP law. I've got a background in that. Went and got commercial sounding. Did economics, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that was a big one. So. And then when it came to actually marketing and that sort of thing, that's what's formed my commercial basis.
Nice.
Awesome. So a lot of what I do in my day job, because podcasting is not my day job, unfortunately, I don't get to review games for a living, is I work a lot with mentors and the importance of coaching people through their career journey and not telling them that their ideas are fanciful and they're never going to be able to do it. So I'm really interested to know, did you have one major influence or a mentor or someone along the way who just sort of sparked the idea in you that kind of spurred you along a bit more, or do you still have a current mentor that's even more exciting?
I have influences more than mentors. I have my good friend Timothy Best, works for Mighty Games Group. He is someone that I draw a lot of inspiration from because he just goes ahead and makes things successful regardless, and he's got a really good talent in that. If you wanted me to point to a mentor, there's a guy called Tony Reid. He's the head of the Games Developer Association Australia. Yep. I didn't really know him that much before the whole Fred and Paul experience. I had a brief contact with him. I got my PR agent at the time got me speaking to him, and then when we got to PAX 2013, he basically more or less adopted us in a lot of ways. And I've had a really good relationship with this guy ever since. But there was this really awesome moment where we're at the Mega Dev, which is the indie game dev after party after PAX, right? And we had a great night. We were all on a high, and he actually, circumstances happened, and he pulled us into this. So Tony was in a great mood. He was out being very, very festive. We were all very festive that night. We were completely and totally festive for the most part.
That's very politically correct language.
And festive Tony came over and then dropped the act and became CEO Mentor Tony. And I think that's one of the most. I still remember the conversation very, very clear, despite how much festivity I had consumed myself. He basically read us the riot act with Ravenfall, and we thought we were pretty good. We thought we made this thing. Everyone had given us positive feedback about it. We got positive feedback the whole weekend, and he basically just told us, our team stood down and laid down the law. And sometimes you got to do that as a mentor. And we listened to everything he said, and you know what? Absolutely right. Bang on every case. That's one of the things with mentors, is that you've got to take the good advice when you get it. And I mean, it was things like, your wall sliding mechanic is shit. You need to fix that. It doesn't feel right. You need to improve the responsiveness of control. It's still not right. And things like that, because he'd gone through and he played the game. And something that's the power of the mentor, right? Is that they tell you the things that you don't want to hear, but the things that you need to hear. And that was a really good mentorship.
It's like
moment.
Batman.
Yeah,
No, it's like Alfred.
The other person I would point to is probably from an unexpected corner. That's Dr. Kate Rains-Goldie at FTI. I think not so much on the games themselves, but on the business and the wider perspective on things. I think she is an inspirational figure, and she's done a lot for the games industry in the state so far. I look forward to where it's going next.
Yeah.
So, as a possibly like an indie developer, what do you consider to be a indie? And I use it air quotes here, indie, when it comes to being like making games or being a games developer. What do you class as indie nowadays? And no one can see my air quotes, but they're real. I am doing air quotes.
Real air quotes. I mean, to me, being an indie is, we're indie now. Going and just starting and making games, that's an act of indieism. An indie can be someone who's never made a game before and just starts going and hacking it out. Mm-hmm. Or an indie can be someone who's worked for AAA studios or a group of people that have worked for AAA studios, and they've got tired of that and want to go and off and do their own things, and they just go and start hacking it out that way. There's no real. I'm not the definition police. I don't really sit and go, you're indie, you're not indie, that sort of thing. The only thing being is that if you sign your ownership of your studio over to someone else, that's really the indication that you're not indie anymore.
Right.
By the same token, there are people who would sign an exclusivity deal. I mean, I'm a business person too, right? If someone came and offered me $1 squillion to come and do an exclusive title for console XYZ, PlayStation, Box X, version 3.0, I would consider it. I mean, I'd still maintain ownership of my studio, but I would sign the exclusivity if it was financially worthwhile me to do so, and I could be promised that I was going to make X dollars baseline.
Mm.
You know, I mean, that's a financial consideration. We are running a business here. We want to. Yeah. We're making. Our next point is to make the bigger, better game. That's the next ambition. So in any case, that's a consideration you need to navigate that without burning necessarily your bridges with another vendor.
Yeah. Yep. It's an interesting comparison you made before, actually, with the Shark Tank kind of situation. You know, putting yourself out there and trying to get interest from various different investors, and some of the risks involved when money is ultimately getting involved, and some of the things you might be required to do. But I guess sometimes you just need to take those chances in order to get ahead of the game and get noticed. So how do you actually do that? Like, what has Stirfire done, given how competitive the marketplace is, to actually get your name out there and get noticed? You mentioned working with a PR firm before. What else has actually sort of done the job for you effectively?
Well, making Freedomfall in itself was a colossal risk. I mean, this is the thing, is that we made that game on a budget of not a lot of money, and it really cost a lot more to make in our time. I mean, if we were to put a dollar figure on that game, it's a lot more than what we paid for it, just in terms of our own time.
Value of blood, value of sweat.
Yeah, full sweat equity, and
Yeah.
it's something that you never want to see. I mean, but the thing being is that startup is messy and it's dirty, and it's just how it is. Particularly when you've got no other government assistance or funding. I mean, you just do what you have to do. At the end of the day, if you want if you want to go in there. But in terms of attention seeking, which is my speciality, is kind of what I do for the studio, full stop. Which is why I come along and talk on podcasts. Hiring a PR firm. I mean, my background, I've got a strong marketing background. Traditional marketing doesn't really work anymore in the game space. I think that the phenomenon that no one ever saw coming was the YouTuber and Twitch phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
So when we first approached, we went out to PAX in 2013. It was the first time PAX Australia had come. We thought the opportunity was huge. We're getting on the ground floor. We'll do this. We'll talk to a bunch of people. We'll line up press interviews the whole way. So this is the thing as well, is that to be an indie, you have got to compete against multi-million dollar international firms with marketing budgets that cost half a city. They are. So how do you even go up against that? Well, the answer is you pick your timing. You look for the release windows when there's not Overwatch coming out.
Yeah. Battleborn developers, listen in.
Yeah.
You pick a time where there are times of the year when the AAAs don't release, and those are the times that you as an indie you aim to release, because the thing that games podcasts and YouTubers and Twitch streamers and everybody is trying to get is content. So during those times, the content is not there. So that's the times where you set your releases for and you get your PR. So these days you can't just do one thing. You have to balance traditional gaming media and that sort of websites and, your Kotakus and those established names. You also have to make friends and make hugs with every single YouTuber. Like if I get tweeted all the time by YouTubers and I give them a code, and I give them a hug and I tell them how awesome they are when I watch their video and all that sort of thing. Lots of them are really, really great. Some of them, okay, sure. But the long and the short of it is that your community that you build up through those things, that's really where you spend the time as an indie. And they make and break your business as well. The other thing too is that the big guys, so your tier 2 and tier 1 YouTubers actually pay notice to the smaller YouTubers as well. They've got the select ones that they think have the fingers on the pulse. So like to give you some idea, to go and get a tier 1 YouTuber to go and play my game and basically shout over the top of it on their channel would cost me $30,000 to $40,000 US.
Oh wow!
Wow.
It's totally worth it. But the thing that you have to understand as well is that these guys are not reviewers. There's no contract between them and their watchers for them to provide you with quality advice on which game you should buy. They are interested in entertaining you. They're interested in, they want to play cool stuff as well. That's the other thing. They want to be enthusiastic. They want to, enjoy what they're doing. But they're not reviewers. So you've got your reviewers on one hand. People don't buy games so much on what these guys say. They buy them more on what the YouTubers say and what looks fun now. I think that's the single biggest change. And of course, this is the phenomenon and the rise of Twitch as well, is that often when you're looking at a Twitch stream, that's often informing the gaming consumer's next buying choice.
I think it's true. A lot of the time I find myself ignoring reviews in favour of, the new media tradition of actually watching some playthroughs instead. Gives you much more detailed information about what you're going to be spending your money on.
Oh, totally. And the other thing too, all right, so what's the first thing? So my favourite game on earth is XCOM. That's the thing. If I just want to go and chill out and play something, that's the game I'm going to come back to time and time again. And of course, XCOM 2 is coming out, and what's the first thing I go and watch? I go and watch 20 minutes of XCOM 2 gameplay.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. I'm a gaming consumer, same as everybody else, right? But so to get noticed, you've really got to balance that perfect storm. You've got to balance the press, you've got to balance the YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and the other thing too is don't underestimate a convention or an expo, but always go into those ones with an aim in mind. Turning up and just showing off your stuff to the crowd is great, and we love it, and you get some really awesome feedback. Particularly if you haven't quite yet gone to market, you can really get some good quality feedback out of that. But you need to have a solid schedule booked with press, media, YouTubers, and hopefully vendors and some of the bigger guys as well to get noticed by them, because they can really help your product along. The single biggest thing that will ever get your game sold on an online market is when a vendor puts you in a prime position on their marketplace. That's the reality of the situation. You can do everything else, but being on a feature position on the front page of PSN or Steam or wherever, that's what gets your game sold.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak from experience for just about all of us, I think, with the amount of split-second impulse purchases we make when we see games on special on the Steam front page. It's just,
Yeah, you lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Happens all the freaking time. Yeah. So
it's really interesting because you do hear that the background of cons is, we're showing our game, but the more important thing is everyone's in one place at one time. So we need to all catch up. I need to meet with the following people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's not even the drinking plans. That's just the actual work stuff. Yeah.
You can do both.
Happens after the con in my case. So there you go.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it was interesting, actually. You've sort of spoken a lot about the games media and how that's impacted, what you do and how that's changed in recent years. But I mean, what about the rest of the industry as a whole? I think it's become almost a bit of an image that Australia has, been quite a prominent developer in the indie scene and on mobile platforms in particular, with Half Brick Studios over east, making a huge name for themselves with having the second biggest mobile game of all time in Fruit Ninja. What do you think about that, and how do you see the industry sort of changing at the moment and over recent years?
Well, the big epicenter in Australia is, of course, Melbourne. I mean, the government there facilitated an absolute fair play to them. The Victorian government opened up the checkbook and said we want to own this space in Australia, and that they supported the local industry very, very well. Studios have moved to Victoria to go and get seed funding out of that. Look at what Crossy Road did a couple of years ago, and it's still doing fabulously successful. Disney Crossy Road came out, a month or so ago, and it's been huge. And again, those guys have gone on to do some fabulous things. They did Pac-Man 256. They did that's part of the Mighty Games group now, and they did Shooty Skies, which I play every second day on my phone. And they've got many, many other titles and plans and all that sort of thing. So financially, they've done it really well. Perth's a bit more of a microcosm. We punch well above our weight here. If anyone asks me why that is, I still say it's because we don't have pokies here, so people play other games.
You might be right.
Yeah. All that sort of thing for our city our size. So you know what, we make the best games too. So that's it. Here we're really supportive of each other. We have a very, very strong community. Everyone who's listening to this podcast, hosting this podcast, should come to a Play Out Perth at some point and just see what's being made here, because it will floor you. And a lot of this time, it's not people with any budgets or huge studio experience or anything like that. It was just, holy crap, this is awesome. Someone had a really off-the-wall idea and went with it. And there's all sorts of different games being made here. Like I said, Stirfire makes commercial games. There are people who make non-commercial games, but you play them and you go, that's amazing. That's just, that's really made my life that bit brighter today, or it's caused me to think about something, or hell, I've just gone and played one of SK Games' latest crazies and gone, what's that?
I was just thinking of that one at the Perth Games Festival.
Oh, the one with the nipple controllers?
The cat nipples, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It sounds horrifying.
Phenomenal SK Games over the years, and I love what those guys do. It's not what we do, but there's room for everybody. And the other thing, too, is there's a lot of room here. And because we're all competing mainly on a worldwide stage, there's no reason to be overly competitive. And in fact, I think that's the games industry in Australia as a whole. You turn up and you go to a PAX or you go to the stuff surrounding that, and it's hugs all around. No one's competing. We're all here in it together. And,
mateship.
And people will help you out too. It's one of those things. So we're competing against the world. We're not competing against each other.
No, it's good. It's something that has been a lot more evident, speaking to some of the developers now that are sort of, getting involved in mainstream media. And, Guy Blomberg, who heads up PAX Australia, has got his Game Hugs podcast now, and he pretty much has that sort of same image as well. Everyone he comes on and chats with, he's got the whole mateship thing going, and they hug at the end and all that sort of stuff, which is really cool. So, yeah.
He actually reviewed Tony Reid a while ago, and
that was amazing.
That you do need, if you're interested about how games works in Australia, again, the depth of knowledge between those two guys is just phenomenal. So, yeah, you definitely need to listen to that one. That and the one with Jeremy Ray as well.
Yeah, Absolutely.
That was an amazing episode.
So you sort of mentioned on the topic of Tony that he gave you some doses of reality with regards to some of the feedback a few years ago. What other tough stuff have you had to deal with in terms of feedback or just general challenges that you've had over the years? I mean, have there been times where you've actually considered, taking a step away because things have just gotten a bit too real, or moments where you've really questioned what you're doing? What have been sort of the tough things that you've come through and overcome to get where you are now?
Being in perpetual startup for 5 years has been very taxing. If I'm honest, we're in a position now where within the next 2 weeks we're aiming to change all that because we've had some success in some other areas. So you're kind of going, how long do I have to keep going like this before I get a success? And the answer is as long as you have to. Creatively, you can see some rough reviews and things like that. And the other thing too, I think there's been some cultural phenomena just in gaming as a whole, and you're sort of going, do I really want to be part of this scene anymore? And the answer always comes back overwhelmingly yes. And the reason being is because the thing that I work in most is when someone comes up and goes, hey, you're Garth, you're a Stirfire, and said, yeah, and I go, yeah, and I have no idea who this person is, and he said, you work on Freedomfall, or hey, look, I played Symphony at a play out Perth. I said, oh, really? What do you think? And they go, oh, I was just, I laughed, I cried, I bought the T-shirt. And I mean, it's not an ego thing. It's that you actually got to talk to someone in that day, and you made their life a little bit better. And that's that's for me the personal driver. But in terms of the challenges, creatively as well, the budget for a project is never what you want it to be. The time for a project is never what you want it to be. Making something that's tight and that's time blocks and all that is when you're starting out particularly, is where you should be aiming. Don't choose something with a sprawling scope and be very, very mindful and conscious of scope creep. It's come out and bitten us on the butt several times. There's also the other thing at the moment, I think, looking forward, because we're really looking at 3 titles right now and we just have a truckload of stuff that we want to do. Time management and resource management of what you have to work with are always the massive challenges within a business of our size.
Yeah.
I want to make this colossal cyberpunk, steampunk, native Australian RPG adventure thing, but I don't have the $3 bazillion that you need to do that. So you've got to scale your ambitions with what your resources look like at the time.
That sounds amazing, by the way. I'd totally buy that.
Yes.
When I know what it is, then I'll actually write it down in a design doc. But until I can actually figure out and settle down to what it's going to be, then that's going to be it. The other one is I wanted to design a perfect First World War tactical simulation, but I think I'm the only person who would want to play that. So
nice.
You'd be surprised.
I think so.
OCD the game. I'll do that. Anyway.
Yeah. I'd be down with that.
Arrange this bookshelf.
Oh, I'd love that.
Have you played Job Simulator?
OCD Simulator.
Yeah.
I want it so bad.
There you go. That's your next smash hit. Patent that now.
I watched somebody else play Job Simulator and got angry they didn't put things back in the right place. Oh, God.
Oh,
just have a game called Match the Socks.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What is my life?
Supposed to gain to escape reality, not embrace it like that. This is terrible. Oh, no.
That reminds me of when I got to play Papers, Please, which I was immediately going, this is pushing the boundaries of what a game could be, and then I got on and played it, and I nearly threw my computer against the room in the first 5 minutes of play. I was just like, fantastic game. I can't play this. But anyway.
Yeah. Difficult game.
I love that game.
Choose subject matter, yeah.
So much.
So, just as well on the topic of challenges, and I guess one that's probably been, surpassing your business and encompassing all of Australia. We've been looking on in the last couple of years, in particular, at a lot of the challenges that Australia's had in terms of the games industry and the removal of the Interactive Australia Media Fund. Have I got the name right?
Australian Interactive Games Fund.
That's right, yeah. So the funding being pulled by the federal government, and obviously there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to sort of get that reinstated or at least reviewed. And there's a Senate inquiry that's been headed up by Senator Scott Ludlam and contributors from a lot of the industry across the country. What sort of stuff has that done to impact your operation, and have you gotten involved? And has that actually done anything positive for you? What involvement have you had?
Oh boy, strap yourself in, kids.
Yeah.
All right, so probably to go back a notch, to give people who don't know an idea, so the Australian Interactive Games Fund was originally put in place by the last Labor government in Australia by Simon Crane, who was a then treasurer, he was somewhere in there anyway. An extraordinarily far-sighted move from the federal government at the time, in my humble opinion. Basically, what that looked like on raw financial terms was a $20 million fund over 4 years. So that's $5 million a year. By government standards, that is, I'm going to say it, it's fuck all.
Yep.
It's not much money. But then in the 2014 budget, when the current government came in and they basically came and wiped the funding out of creative industry in Australia, and which we've been rallying about ever since. I mean, that was, the money that games can bring in. I mean, keep in mind that in 2015 it crossed the $100 billion US worldwide mark. Games make more money than Hollywood, makes more money than pretty much any film industry you point at, and more than most other industries as well, worldwide. So what's going in currently? Late last year, Senator Scott Ludlam, who's a West Australian Green Senator, called for an inquiry into the future of video games in Australia. And then he basically called for submissions. And when he announced it, I looked at it and went, I'm really glad this is happening. But with the leadership of the government at the time, and Tony Abbott will remain named here, I just thought, I don't see any change. I mean, they can talk, they can compile the data, we'll come up with an overwhelming case, we'll speak, the industry will be consulted, and then no notice will be taken. And then
we're listening, we don't care.
It was almost like it was there to humour Scott Ludlam. I mean, he'd got it, he'd gone through the right Senate processes to get it, but I just couldn't see anything coming out of it. And the night that Malcolm Turnbull became Prime Minister of Australia, I ran to my laptop and I started typing like nothing I've done before. Because immediately the mood of the government changed. Now, in practicality, things are a few months on and it's not been a progression because we've got an election on the horizon, it's double dissolution, blah, blah, blah. Right now, the senators are all chasing their own jobs. But I've spoken to a lot of people across our industry. The people that I mentioned on this podcast here tonight have contributed very actively. My business partner got interviewed in one of the interviews. I wrote our Senate submission ourselves. We got involved. We did the things. Scott Ludlam turned up to PAX last year and hosted a panel. I think it was the only game dev that actually got up and said, Scott, when are we going to see some money out of this? And of course, he wasn't able to really elaborate at the time because, politics. But the whole mood of the government had changed. And the other thing, too, is with the Senate inquiry, there were Liberal and Labor senators on that panel with the Green senator. So it basically meant that everybody went, yeah, okay, the money's talking now. Like, at the end of the day, okay, so it's games, right? And I mean, I've done a lot of investor work where you walk into a room full of people and say, so we've got this game. And, of course, their eyes glaze over because they don't know it or understand it, or they think games are for kids and blah, 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 blah. So you're trying to convince some conservative 50-somethings that you're actually talking about a serious industry. And that, like, the numbers speak. At the end of the day, we're making a thing that, these are the worldwide figures. This is how much money you can make if you do it well off an indie game. When you're dealing with indie games that have made 20 million US, 30 million US, you point to your favorite title. I mean, I've got, looking at Papers, Please, I've Gone Home, and I mean, you can't recreate another Minecraft scenario with a perfect lightning strike like that.
Yeah. There
are other notable examples where you can go and point. Crossy Road, a couple of guys sat and made a game for 3 months and put it up there and made squillings. Again, it's huge money. So no one can afford to ignore that anymore. Governments basically do so at their peril. The reason the Victorian government got in very, very early is because they basically couldn't dig things out the ground in that state. So
yeah.
So they were looking for another industry and they found it. And then I got speaking with some people from Creative Vic. They basically said, look, on the night of that budget cut, they've doubled their investment into games in Victoria. And he said, and the guy was quite high up in Creative Vic, and he basically told me, look, on the night, and they will wise up, the federal government will come good, and on that night, we'll double our investment again, because we want own the space in Australia. And I said, that's absolutely fair enough.
Yeah, that's why we see Film Victoria and stuff and Victorian government over every game splash page. We play the local games these days.
Yeah,
and that's why Victoria is the powerhouse.
Yeah,
I mean, and Queensland to a lesser extent. I mean, WA, we still don't have any local. I don't think we'll see it unless we see a change of government in the state.
WA might start paying attention if during the mining industry we dig up a treasure trove of extra ET games or something crazy like that.
No one wants those. That's not worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we contributed towards those things, and we'd like to see something out of it. But the other thing too is that it's government, and it works slowly, and you're also looking at budgetary cycles. Federally, I wouldn't expect to see anything before budget 2017.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, well, at least it's a bit of a sea change, and everyone's able to get a bit fired up and motivated again. That there's actually a chance that things are going to change, as opposed to just a stagnant situation where nothing's evolving at all. So.
I found it absolutely astounding. I spend my days at the moment talking about STEM and the importance of science and technology and engineering and maths in schools, and kids need to be ready to become game developers, but no one's investing in game development. It's just nuts. We're going to get all of these kids through with excellent educations, and they're going to have nowhere to go.
Yeah. That is, I mean, obviously the graduates are churning out of the universities and institutions and all that at the moment, and I mean, we've gone on this journey ourselves. We've been seeking private investment, and we're basically, we're almost there. I can see the end in sight now, because again, ultimately the money talks. When you show them the figures and you show them what the success stories, and they go, okay, great, how do we get a piece of that? So private, again, right now is a really good environment with that, because the resource sector is so dead. So a lot of these guys are looking for places to put their money right now, and that's where we've ultimately been able to capitalise upon that.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of running out of time, but there was one topic that I was pretty keen to hit you up on tonight, and I know Jam's interested too, because she and I got to test out some of your wares in this category a couple of years ago at PAX, when you had your VR demo for Dead End Alley, and we were able to cut people apart with a chainsaw using the Oculus Rift DK2, I think it was at the time. So, yeah. You guys are doing some cool stuff in VR at the moment. So, where do you see that being headed, and what have you learnt doing that?
Will there be zombies?
Well, that was a commission work. We wouldn't necessarily make that game for ourselves, but that was done in partnership at the time. But we made that. So the technology's probably moved on a notch even since then. This is the year of VR. I mean, I don't know how much hype can really be. I can't hype that up enough. There's a lot of skepticism around what it's actually going to do in a numbers scenario as well, because as a game developer, if I make a game and I'm selling it for $20 US, I want to ship, thousands of units. I don't want to ship, 2 or 3. And of course, you're looking at what's the size of that market and what's going to do and that sort of thing.
Especially when people can't actually get the VR product into their hands due to components shortages and the like.
Oh, dear.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the big one coming personally, I think Sony, and you look at like GameStop in the US is already sold out of all the pre-orders of PSVR. I think the EB Games Australia is completely sold out of that, and this is 8 months out. It's due in October. Yeah. Less than that, but count on down. They're sold out when they're 8 months out. There's a lot of hype around it. I remains to be seen how big that market really is. Stirfire believes that this is going to fundamentally change things, and it's a new platform for us to move on to. We're technologically not ambivalent. I'm trying to think of it. Technologically agnostic. So we'll try and get onto as many of the VR platforms as we can, obviously, because from a numbers perspective to start with, but also you want to see which platforms really take off. And I think the numbers one will be the Sony, because you'll be able to go from 0 to full immersive VR with motion controllers for your hands in under $1,000 Australian is the prediction. I think that's a very compelling story. Compared to some of the Oculuses and the HTC Vives, where you're going to need a much more expensive machine. The kit itself is quite expensive. It's a bit more niche than that.
Full PC for some as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
And a degree in computer science.
The setup's not too bad on them. It's just that the actual PC that you need to drive is going to be a tidy expense as well. So I think the Sony is going to be the number one. We've seen the Gear VR go out with Samsung right now that's offering a portable experience. I think VR with just a headset on and VR with motion controllers are two separate things. It's just when you've got the ability to manipulate and use your hands in game or in the software that you're using, it's a way more compelling experience. We're working on Symphony of the Machine, which is our first in-house VR title. It's a complete departure from sort of the chainsaw zombie stuff. It's actually it's completely peaceful, non-violent kind of chill out space. Anyone who's used VR knows how intense it can be. We're trying to step it all back from that. I think the other one is this is the year where VR basically becomes more than just about the technology. So with VR, the challenge is that people get overwhelmed with the technology. They put it on the headset. It's usually their first experience with VR, and then they're just blown away by just simply the experience of being in VR. What we're trying to do is bring it back from that and go, you're actually in an amazing place. It looks gorgeous. There's no time pressure on you, so you can actually just look around, and you're changing the weather with an ancient machine, and you're making plants grow. And we want to have this serene, beautiful experience. And I think that's one of the things that VR can do very, very well, is just put you into a different place rather than, I've got a headset on. Actually, walk around inside the place that you are. And it's a really beautiful place to be working in. It's a very creative space as well.
When you're folding socks in VR, it puts you in the sock drawer.
No, stop that. I want to grow plants.
The other one is to keep an eye out for, of course, is the Microsoft HoloLens, which is not VR, that's augmented or hybrid reality. That's going to be a really interesting thing in the next couple of years, because that VR locks you away from the world. It puts you in a different place, whereas the HoloLens will actually overlay stuff over your vision. I'm really excited about that device personally.
That one has me the most excited as well.
Applications for horror games, yeah.
Oh, so good.
There are so many come around for a brainstorming session at my place. I'll put on beers and we'll sit and we'll write ideas on a whiteboard for the next 6 hours with this thing. There's so many ideas that come out of that device. But yeah, do I think VR is going to be a fad? No, I don't. I think that a lot of it's going to be industrial application as well. And again, we do private work as well, so I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into some of that. But again, we've got some gaming experience, and the other one is I can't talk about it too much, but we do have a game that is a complete departure. I'm tossing around using an imprint title of my business name, Stirfire. It's at this stage, the title of the sub-studio, if you want to call it that will be working on that one is Stirfire and Brimstone. So that will take you a bit more into the mood of where we're going with that.
Cool.
Doom.
Make next Doom killer.
Yeah, no FPS. It's not really our style, but you'll get the point.
Nice. All right. Well, what's the next big thing, sort of aside from that sort of secret project? Is there anything you can talk about in detail? Like you mentioned debug before. Can you sort of talk much about that, or is there anything else that's on the horizon that we can get a quick preview of, or is it all hush hush?
No, we'll come down and play. Come to the next Play at Perth. We'll be there with, more than likely, you'll see us with our game Symphony of the Machine. You can come and play a playable demo of what that looks like at the moment on our fabulous HTC Vive. So you get to walk around inside of it. Definitely worth picking that one up. Or the next Perth Games Festival, we'll have that as it moves along as well. We're planning an October release for that one. So that's going to be a crazy few months for us coming up. The other thing we're working on is working title Debug, which is a platformer with a lot of emergent gameplay in it. So the traditional thing with platformers, and we love taking platformers and doing horrible things to that genre. Emergent gameplay, and you be able to affect your environment quite profoundly around it. We're going back to our roots with that one. There's a lot of black humor. There's you don't have the ability to actually shoot at anything, but you'll the manipulation on the environment will be how you win that particular game. That's it's nearly finished a feature complete demo status at this stage. We're aiming for somewhere between January to April next year with that. We've got to keep an eye on the time frame and how big we want the actual session to be. Symphony, we're looking at roughly an hour-long VR experience. Debug, we're aiming for about 6 hours of gameplay with that one.
Ooh, nice. Cool.
So those are the two things that we're working on right now, and other than that, we're not doing anything.
Yeah, nothing at all.
just doing lots of things, but not much really.
No.
Sweet. All right. Well, if people want to learn more about Stirfire Studios or yourself and anything you've got going on, I know we've got the website over at stirfire.net. Is there anywhere else they can hit you up?
You can hit at Stirfire Studios is the studio Twitter. I am at _Garpend on Twitter myself. If you want to hear me rubbish on about anything, I strongly recommend anyone who's really interested in video game development in West Australia, particularly, to hit up letsmakegames.org or the Let's Make Games Facebook page. And only if you're interested in wider Australian stuff, look at the sites for the GDAA. But also come along to a Play Up Perth. Go to, regardless on where you are in the world, go and look for the indie game hangout where you are. In Melbourne, there's some fabulous activities on. Just go and start hanging out. And I mean, the number one question that everyone always asks me, so what do I want to do if I want to make games? And the answer is just start making games.
Just do it. Do it.
Just do something, start a job, start a project, finish a project, come and talk to people about it, and then you'll get involved with things.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much for spending the time with us today, Garth. Appreciate it. We'll chuck some links in the show notes as well to lead people to those places, and look forward to seeing what's next on the horizon for Stirfire and yourself.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for being on.
Cheers, Garth. All right. That was awesome. So let's talk about some games. How's that?
But I want to play some of those games now.
Nice. No, it's good. I think it's a nice departure from the massive glut of very similar material that we've all been experiencing in the last week or so. So, can we have a brief chat about what we've been playing?
Sure.
We're going to see some common themes here, I think.
Doom.
Yeah, we'll start with that one.
All right, we can start with Doom. So, now, Ollie and I have both picked up Doom, and I think it's fair to say that the experience that we're having with the single-player campaign contrasts quite a bit with your experience earlier on the multiplayer
Christ,
game.
I'm so glad.
Yep.
I'm so glad.
So relieved.
Oh, you have no idea. I loaded it up, and in the first about 30 seconds, I'm like, yep.
Yeah. I must admit, I felt
I'm
a little
happy.
bit guilty actually sort of having mentally written the game off so hard before, but man, just so happy that it's not bad.
Did you buy it after I gushed about it, or were you already buying it at that point?
No. I did the thing that you always talk about doing, which is actually seeing what people are saying about the game before going out and throwing money at it. And, I'm usually pretty good about doing that, despite the fact that I'll audibly get excited. But as soon as a few, trusted tastemakers that I, pay attention to started talking about how good the single-player campaign was and how immersive it was and all that sort of stuff, I was like, okay, that's cool. I don't need another multiplayer shooter because I've got Overwatch. I'll get this because it is actually something different. So
No.
So
single-player was just very, very solid. Very true to the originals, I found.
Well, that's the important part, right?
Yeah.
That was the original game.
So did anyone else actually play through the most recent one prior to that, Doom 3? Because I played the whole way through that. Did you guys
When
do
was that?
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
that was a while ago. To the internet.
Because
Yeah.
I know
To the
I've played
spurious
Doom,
artifact.
but it was so
That's not
forever
spurious,
ago.
it's via Google. 2004.
Wow.
Doom 3. I remember seeing those the lighting effects screenshots for that. Oh man, I remember that game looking amazing. I'm looking at it now, and it's not so great.
It's
I'm
not
actually shocked that was legit 12 years ago. Holy moly.
Yeah, no, it holds up reasonably well. The polygon count's a bit low, but otherwise it looks fine.
I remember the gameplay being decent, but it was a game sort of at the time that kind of took itself reasonably seriously with the kind of mythos it was trying to promote, but that's probably the biggest contrast with the new Doom, which just doesn't take itself seriously at freaking all.
Story? Fuck that. It's great when the guy who's like, oh, you need to disable this thing, and the guy's like, nah, fuck that, just break it.
Yeah.
He's like, you're destroying this invaluable... Smash, 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 smash. What? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Demons to kill.
Yeah. And the character development for him is basically, he is the Doom Marine. That's it.
Done.
He kills
Story done.
demons, and the demons don't like him killing them. The end.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, that's cool.
I watched some more of the multiplayer, not so professional people, I guess, playing it, and it is hectic. It just looks nuts.
You would love some of the single-player levels.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It'd scare the crap out of me, and you
No,
guys
not
would
scary,
enjoy more?
just hectic.
Okay. All right.
Very hectic.
Maybe in the future when it's on sale.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. What difficulty are you playing it on, Luke, out of curiosity?
Whatever the default setting is, which is...
The medium one? Yeah.
It's Give Me Hell or something. I think that's what it's
Hurt
called.
Me Plenty or something
Hurt
like
Me
that.
Plenty,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the Nightmare mode or anything crazy like that. Although, from what I've been reading today, I may actually give it a crack on Nightmare mode later because people have been raving about how that amps up the fun a fair bit in terms of the pressure. So
Yep.
Yep. Nice. So, I mean, Ollie, you've put a whole bunch more time into the game than I have so far because you've actually finished
it,
the
in
campaign.
fact.
Yeah. So give us your thoughts on what's good, what's unexpected, how it actually works. You know, what's the rundown?
Okay, so it's very faithful to the previous Dooms. I actually was playing and I was like, I'm clicking my reload button and I'm like, oh wait, I don't need a reload. So I remapped that to my melee button. That was good times. But yeah, it's the old school, strafe around really quickly, lots of weapons, shoot lots of bullets, classical Doom, demons come at you, you kill them. That's about the sum of the plot. And yeah, graphic-wise, great. Really love the graphics, very nice aesthetics. They did a good job of incorporating, I use air quotes here, love them. They're a very good audio medium, I find, of using modern elements, so that leveling up system of like the little tweaks here and there you can do to your guy, and like the modding of weapons. They implemented that pretty well, I found. Have you done much of that?
A little bit. Like I'm nowhere near as far in as you. I've only done about 4 levels, I think. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you get some pretty good weapon mods, and for some of them you're like, why would I bother doing that? So I think like the heavy assault rifle, you can get like a scope on it. I went, who scopes in a Doom game? Micro missiles. Like, what the fuck? But I guess it's there for those people that have to sit still. But yeah, you go through so much ammunition in this game. I maxed out my ammunition capacity very early on, and I was still running low.
Yeah.
It was frantic. I was expecting more boss fights. There was only 3 boss fights in the game, and I wish there was one more. Like maybe just one more earlier one would have been nice because they're both towards the end of the game. So I wish there was a bit more of that. But otherwise, yeah, so much fun. So much fun. And they've got the classic Doom things like the Berserk and the Haste and all that sort of stuff. And so good. So good.
I've found it to be significantly different to other shooters that I've played in the way that the movement works, particularly with the jumping. So the thing that caught me out quite a bit was the... and I said this to you when we were chatting briefly before the show. I find the jump distance is really tricky to judge in this game because you're not sort of just going from platform edge to platform edge. You actually grip the edge of things and pull yourself up on them, which means that you're kind of just aiming for the rough area that you're trying to go in. It's you don't have to be as exact as what I'm used to in some other games.
Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to vertical jumping. It can be a little bit at times. But for the horizontal jumping, I didn't have any problems. When you get the double jump, no problems at all. Everything's like, yep, done.
Yeah.
But no, there is a surprising amount of platforming in that game, and they've implemented it really nicely.
Which is good because they've hidden a whole bunch of stuff around quite a few of the levels too. Like there's a lot of collectibles and things that you can actually get, which unlock different sort of ability ups and power ups and things for your weapons, which is cool. Yeah.
So at the end of every level, there is a sort of summary screen of all the stuff you've found or didn't found, so you can see, there was 3 secrets and I only got 1 of them. 2 more to go, sort of thing. I really like that. It's very old school, and I'm a big fan of that. And there is definitely different tiers of secrets. Like some secrets, you land in a spot, you turn around, instead of charging 4, you're like, oh, there's my secret. Or you have 2 corridors, one goes to the right, that's your objective, one goes to the left, and you're like, I'll go to the left one, see what's down there. Oh, it's a secret. And then there's the third one where you're like, okay, no, I need to do some serious platforming or exploration to find it. So I like that. There's definitely tiers for that.
Yeah. And the other surprise for me, which is a pleasant one, I've got to admit, is that the sort of short animations for the kills.
The glory kills?
The glory kills. Actually doesn't fragment the game flow as much as I thought it was going to. It's actually a lot smoother than I thought. And the mechanic with it is really super cool. Yeah.
I am super happy they've done this because you know the third-person game Space Marine.
Yeah.
How you powered up and you actually healed by killing people.
Yeah.
I love that they've taken that mechanic so much. So you wading in and doing awesome kills, and there's enough variety in the animations that they don't become repetitive, which was nice. And some were very satisfying even in repetition. Like the summoners. Glory killing those, if you haven't versed any summoners yet, Luke, is very, very satisfying.
Nice. Yeah, so for Jamie and Imogen's sort of purposes, and for anyone listening, the glory kills, the way it works is that you basically get an enemy down to, within
Really low health.
Low health, yep, and they'll start to flash, and then you just approach them, and when you get close, you basically hit the E button on your keyboard, and you perform like a short animation to just, kill them. It's usually a decapitation or...
Tear their heart out, rip their face off, whatever.
So, and depending on which angle you approach the character from, and depending on which weapon you've got, the animation is completely different. So,
neat.
Oh no, the weapon's irrelevant.
Oh, is it? Oh, I
Weapon's
thought
irrelevant.
Chainsaw had a separate set for.
Yeah, chainsaw is its own thing, but it's not like the pistol and the shotgun have different things.
No, of course, yeah. It is enemy dependent though.
Yes,
you'll get
which is
different
very
ones.
cool.
And,
But yeah, I'm very glad they implemented that mechanic because it stops the I'll call it the modern shooter thing of I sit back and snipe.
Yeah.
Because you just can't. And there's, I don't know if you've noticed this, every enemy can get to wherever you are.
Oh yeah.
There is no safe spot. You can't be like, I'm on top of this pillar, smug face. No. They can all jump there as well.
Or climb.
Whatever the player can do, the baddies can do as well.
Yeah.
And that is such a good mechanic.
Yeah, you always got to keep moving in that game, which makes it really frenetic. Yeah, no, it's good fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
so much movement. It prepared me perfectly for our next game, in fact.
Yeah, nice. All right. So rather than sort of just chatting, about Overwatch in general, we can kind of blend it into some of the news of the week because we've got a bit of Overwatch sort of centric stuff to talk about. So the game, of course, did launch last night for us. In fact, or yesterday morning, I should say. We just, some of us had to actually work.
Very smoothly, I might add.
Yeah. Did anyone
very
have
well.
any dramas on launch at all? Getting
Nope.
games and stuff.
I downloaded the patch and went, boom, done.
No. You only had that one issue, Ollie, with the idle time. Which,
Oh yeah, the idle time was super
weird.
quick. So I went idle to literally go, I've got a call, stop that call, and in that 15-20 seconds, I got kicked for being idle. I'm like, wow, okay, they're super harsh.
Yeah.
But look, that's fine. I don't mind that.
I was particularly disappointed about the 8-hour delay that I had getting a game because I had to actually leave work and get home.
I was like, wait, what? Oh, work,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That was harsh.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel
It
your
was
pain.
worth it though. We got 11 people on at a time last night.
That was good.
Nuts.
And then we found out that when you had AI for your in your game, it sent a little GG with some little
at the end of
Even
each game,
losers.
yeah, if he lost, it was like a little sad face.
Yeah.
Like the
hilarious.
the little
GG, guys.
golden line.
Oh.
He's like GG. ... GG. Bless his cotton socks.
That was good.
But yeah. And then they released their final animated short, Hero. Then that was the Soldier 76 one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of that one?
I haven't watched it yet.
It was not as background exploring as I found the other ones to be, if that makes any sort of sense. Like you got, like you went, here's a cool thing for Soldier 76. Like here's a bit of background for him, but it didn't explore the world very much, if that makes sense.
I think it did in that the topic of it, was sort of showing you the tone or the attitude. And we saw sort of earlier similar attitudes in the Widowmaker one, because I'm trying not to spoil it for Jem. We saw sort of similar attitudes, and so I think that it's just a reaffirmation of what the world is, and it also gave you a lot of background. I mean, they were talking about Overwatch and, the heroes that protected the world, and that's something that we sort of saw in the Winston short, the first one, but we needed some more sort of background as to who these people were. So I think it was good. I think it was a nice sort of bow on the other ones.
I'd agree. I've said it a couple of times before, but my favourite short out of all of the ones that they've released so far is still the Widowmaker one, Alive, and mostly.
I cannot believe you picked that one over the dragon one.
Bro feels.
I like the Dragon
so
one,
many
but
bro feels.
the thing that I didn't like about the Dragon one compared to Widowmaker, it's not so much that I didn't like it, it's more that I think Widowmaker does one thing really, really well.
Less butts.
Yeah, that's a fact too. But no, you kind of just said it a second ago. Like the Alive short explores some pretty important information as to the state of the world, whereas I found that Dragons was almost separated from all of that because it was just exploring the tale of the two brothers and their sort of
it
history.
could have been set in anywhere else.
Except,
Literally, yeah.
Okay, except I'm going to point out something that might blow your mind. That his brother died and then came back as a mech, and so in this world where that's not accepted, that is a big deal. And so the fact that they accepted each other as brothers regardless of him being a mech.
Especially because in that short, did you notice at the start he killed the Omnic guy, but not the human guards?
Exactly right. Thanks,
Oh my god.
It's up through the internet. So did I just blow your mind, Luke?
I hadn't picked up on what Ollie just mentioned about who he selectively killed, but that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know if they actually clearly state that he is Omnic or not, because he's kind of a hybrid. So where
He's a
would that fit in?
cyborg, so and
but still,
Omnics
they're
or
seen
machine
as-
people are looked down on.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. As much as you can look down on a ninja that's going to murder your face.
Even so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're just all really well done, and a lot of calls now are people like, why don't we have an animated movie? We want a movie. And I think they've set themselves up really well for it.
Absolutely. Especially with the comic stuff as well. Like I've the most recent one that just came out was the Farah comic. Yeah.
I've not read any of those yet.
Yeah, I think my favourite comic
decent.
is still the Junkrat and Roadhog one, because it's comedic right up to the last moment, and then it gets super murdery.
It's like shit just got real.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it made me realise that Junkrat basically is like he's almost like an Overwatch version of the Joker in some ways. He's a psychotic murder face dude. He's crazy.
I did not enjoy you playing him the other night and like parroting back all of his phrases. That was the worst.
Yeah,
He's got
that
that
was
distinct
one
Aussie
thing-
twang.
Yeah, anyone who's listening to this podcast from not in Australia, we sound like idiots anyway. But when that gets pointed out to me, like if I'm watching a film, or this is a weird phenomenon for those Americans out there. When we watch TV, we think Americans is how we sound until there's an Australian character, and then we realise we sound like twats.
I like how you went British for the Aussie bit.
It's
If
so...
at first you don't succeed, blow it up again.
God. Oh,
That's so painful.
Your Tracer is the worst. Oh, that made me gross.
That wasn't Tracer. Anyway,
yes, hearing Junkrat and his Australian accent mixing in with all of the other accents that are predominantly American is very jarring. I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like seeing interviews with Americans sort of saying, what do you know about Australia? Oh, well, they like to cook shrimps on barbies. Like, no, you're missing the
They
point.
ride kangaroos to school.
Exactly.
We live in pouches.
Yeah, those things
Drop
are
bears.
slimy. Don't do that.
But drop bears are real. All the other things are fake. Drop bears are real.
That's right. And they will murder you if you come here.
They will murder you.
Unprepared.
Mm.
Yeah.
With their and give you chlamydia. It's a double attack.
Speaking of murder, by the way, Oculus Rift.
Good segue.
Yeah. So the trubs continue. It's sort of seen the latest news on the update that they put out during the week to stop the peoples using the Vive software on the Rift.
How dare they?
Dear.
No, it's funny. So what they've actually done effectively is released an update that introduced what they're calling platform integrity checks. And, they sort of claim that this is for a whole bunch of reasons, associated with improving the Oculus software and so on and so forth. But the main thing is that it closes a loophole that allows, Rift games to be compatible with Vive, basically. So, but unfortunately, the developer of Revive, the platform that distributes a bunch of these games, has found a workaround that actually manages to bypass Oculus's ownership check completely, which opens up a massive door to piracy.
Damn.
So, yeah, it's like that old saying, the tighter you clench
You're
your
dong
fingers
goofed.
around the thing that you're trying to protect, the more of it slips through. So, yeah. But, oh man, Oculus in general and, by association, VR is having a rough time at launch. I think, Vive's finally sort of managed to get their head around what's going on with the components, and, they've actually got people taking pre-orders for units again, and, instilled a bit more consumer confidence, but Oculus is just not doing well. So I think it's really demonstrated that, a Facebook company they may be, but in terms of the logistics of actually distributing product, they've got a lot to, close in terms of the gaps. So, which is disappointing.
I'm amazed that they're still getting things wrong, considering how many times they've been kicked in the balls now for doing things wrong. Just why won't you learn, Oculus? Why?
Yeah. It's kind of a shame for anyone who is a early adopter of VR, whether that's a consumer or companies that are actually like Garth was saying before with Stirfire working on VR titles. I mean, all of this sort of drama weakens people's taste for VR in general. They're going to lose a bit of confidence. Are they going to be willing to invest in it? Is it going to damage the chances of other software developers actually getting their stuff out to a good sized audience in future? It's not a good situation. I really do hope that when the PlayStation VR comes out, it sort of starts to mend some of those fences. It'll be good if they can do that, instill a bit more
Fingers
confidence.
crossed.
Yeah.
I just feel sorry for the developers the most, because they're the ones that lose out from it the most.
That's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ollie, you also were looking at the new trailer for Mirror's Edge just before we started recording. Yep.
I watched it. It was a thing. It looks like the same Mirror's Edge that it was before, but now you have a grappling hook and there's possibly more combat.
Now with new hat.
Yes, everything's a lot more polished.
And a bunch more story and
orange.
Much more polished graphics.
Yeah, for the time they weren't terrible. They were a bit on the average side, but they were they were okay. But now they're a bit more. They're literally shinier. Everything is shiny. Oh my god!
It's been polished to the sheen of a Mirror's Edge, you could say,
Oh.
or not.
No.
Sorry,
See you
that
guys.
joke reflected poorly on all of us.
Oh no!
Speaking of reflections, Batman is apparently returning to Arkham with remasters announced for their game.
With the segue.
Mm.
Not really a segue if you just say
I had
what
to
the
stop
thing
it.
Yeah,
is.
that was terrible.
I don't care. I had to stop it. So
Well, talk about Batman. There you go.
no, that shot's
You can do
lit up.
that.
So the original games were made with the Unreal 3 engine. I know this because I'm a graphics whore. And they're updating it to the Unreal 4 engine. So it's a decent upgrade. Like, it's not just look at one picture, it's a bit blurrier. Look at another picture, it's less blurrier. No, there's a significant difference between those two engines. So
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that. And when eventually the PS 4.5 comes out, I would probably be buying the remastered versions for that.
Have you
Because
not
I'm-
played the original two Batman games, Arkham
No, I
Asylum
have,
and Arkham City?
but
Yeah.
I don't own them personally.
Okay. Now, I know Jamie's played them. How far into those two did you get?
I think I'm halfway through the third.
Through Arkham Origins or Arkham Knight?
Yes.
The third. The third one, honestly, the third one that was released.
Yeah, so it must be Origins. Yeah.
Is it?
The one with-
I get the
Playing a
titles mixed
Batman
up.
game?
The one with
I
Black
freaking
Mask
love
is the
it,
main
though.
villain.
The one with the bats, guys.
That's exactly.
And he dresses.
Yeah.
It's the game. Those
He's
are
a
the
man.
games that I
He stares
preferred
broodingly into the
100%.
distance at
Yeah.
one point.
Well, it's a good duo to remaster together because Arkham Asylum and Arkham City really do sort of follow on from each other closely in terms of the story.
They're a good duology.
Yeah, I mean Arkham
love that
Knight
word.
can kind of sit to the side, separate to the two of them, even though it does have reasonably close ties with a couple of things. But it can be considered separate almost. And Arkham Origins, of course, is designed as the prequel to both of those and developed by different studios, Warner Brothers Montreal, I think. So, but yeah, no, and both of those games are solid. Like Arkham City to date for me is probably one of my favorite superhero games of all time. It was seriously good in terms of story.
No,
Yeah.
doesn't beat Spider-Man 2, Luke. I'm sorry.
Spider-Man 2 in terms of superhero game.
Yeah,
Okay,
can't beat Spider-Man 2.
I've never played that before, but it sounds
Not
terrible.
missing out. No, it's actually genuinely good.
Is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Ollie was being sarcastic then.
No,
I can't
it's
tell
actually
anymore.
my favourite superhero game to date.
Oh wow, which
wow,
platform was
okay.
it on?
PlayStation 2.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh my god.
That's a way ago.
Needs a HD remaster. Come on, people.
I don't even know where my PlayStation 2 is.
Yeah.
Probably in the bin.
I sold mine. Yeah.
Fool to be you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, Batman's cool. I think the video games are probably a bit more successful than the movies at this point in time with recent stuff. So, the Nolan trilogy notwithstanding.
So they're the ones that count, dude.
Yeah, that's true. They are the ones that
The other
count.
one was a mashup.
Oh, we've still got Suicide Squad to
Remix.
keep us hopeful. We'll see how that pans out.
I'm
Yeah, that's a
not
mashup as
excited.
well. It's not a
Yeah,
Batman film.
Exactly.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yeah. Cool.
Wait for the Affleck one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you can judge it.
Yeah, because if they don't do well with that one, I think that's probably the final nail. But we will see. We will
Oh,
see.
look.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they made more after the original movies, so
That says it
no
all, really.
final nails. It's
Yeah.
Batman.
They're just going to keep trying.
Yeah.
Come on, Stone, give me blood. I'll settle for water.
No, I think they'll settle for money,
Yeah.
which is generally what comes out of those. All right, well,
Well,
yeah.
you'd hope so.
I think that's a show, guys. What do you think?
I'll call it a wrap, personally.
Call it a wrap? Yeah. So,
Wicca, wicca.
is anyone
Terrible
keen
rap.
to hang about after the show and get some more Overwatch?
Overwatch,
in?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll play
Meow.
a game. Fine,
Probably.
twist my arm.
That was pretty quick.
Although the end of playing last night, I was like, I don't think I'm very good at this game, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you kept automatically getting put on the losing team, which was
I know,
unfortunate.
right? It was like
Yep.
team balancing. Image is really shit. We'll put her with the other shit people.
You and Dave
The
were having
last
no
round
luck.
was definitely a very bad matchup because I think
I
we had
felt really
4
sad.
of the better players on the same team.
Yeah.
And it's like, Blizzard, I don't think you know how to do matchmaking. Sorry.
I think
You
I
can't put
called you
everybody on
guys
the
the
cool channel because then
MS.
it's not the cool channel anymore.
Pretty sure. I swore a lot. And there was
You
somebody
did.
in our channel who I didn't know, so I apologise.
Never apologise. Never apologise.
That's right.
No compromise.
No compromise. Show
mean
no
and
mercy.
angry.
Show no
Exactly.
mercy. Yeah.
Unless you play Mercy.
Yeah. Then show a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show all
Then
of the
why aren't you
Mercy.
healing me? God damn it, heal me more.
Exactly.
Nice. All right. Well, until then, you can catch us at all of the usual places. So hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/partyloaded. We're on Twitter at partyloadedshow. You can email us mail@partyloaded.com. And just a casual reminder that our next episode is going to be our Party Game of the Month episode.
Oh my god.
We're going to be reviewing Ancient Domains of Mystery, which
I actually learned how to play.
yes, I think a couple of us have done our homework, and a couple of us probably are going to have to squeeze it in amongst some Overwatch. So yeah,
More that one.
It's cool.
that's right. Yeah, no, it
But
is.
is it Overwatch cool?
I really wanted to play this one as well. Damn you, Overwatch.
Yeah.
Curse you, Blizzard.
Well,
Imogen
in the
will set
meantime,
aside some
because
time.
we will be drawing a new
Okay.
game next episode, if anyone would like to suggest any, you should hop on to the usual places and do that, and we'll put it in the draw.
I'm
for
going to
our next
update
pick.
my list, actually. I'm going to include a
Please do
small
it,
indie
friends.
title called Warhammer Total War, and I'm going to conveniently roll it.
Actually, that's a good call. I really want to play that game. It looks really good.
You guys keep talking about that game. It sounds
'Cause
like a
it's-
game I would enjoy, but
It's
I don't like
fucking
Warhammer.
awesome.
So
No, but you like RTS.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I'm so conflicted.
Have you played the
Anyway.
Total War games?
No.
What? You like RTS, but you haven't played Total War?
No.
I stick to like vanillas. Like my vanilla, thank you. Don't mix it with the stupid banana flavor or chocolate flavor. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is mixing it with green and chaos flavor, so I don't know how you go
Okay.
with that.
I
Yeah.
can't believe you haven't played Total War. I have to hang up now.
We'll
Sorry.
we'll take her offline
can't
and
be
we'll
friends.
deal with her quietly. Okay.
Yep. Get the baseball
Send
bat.
help. Send help, internet.
All right. Well, that's us for this week. Until next time, we're out. Have a good one.
Bye.
Boy.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.